Welcome to the Highly Evolved Male Summit. My name is Ethan Nukalta, and today we have the amazing Boysen Hodgson, Marketing and Communications Director of the Mankind Project USA, which is a non-profit mentoring organization that offers powerful opportunities for men's personal growth. Boysen has been facilitating men's work for over a decade now, and is a co-founder of Springfield Open Men's Group and author of the book New Macho, a credo for the mature masculine. Boysen has been featured on numerous radio programs and publications, including A New Conversation with Men, The World Changer Sessions, Reclaiming Male Role Models, and the Good Men Project. Boysen is an urban homesteader, a husband, and a proud adoptive dad of two. Welcome to the show.
Ethan, thank you very much. Yeah, proud adoptive dad of two. And I got to update my bio to get the New Macho is my book in progress, and recently, our most recent for MKP huge win in the last couple of months is we got a New York Times piece written about us, and I got quoted in GQ in the UK a couple of months ago, which, yeah, it's good stuff.
So things are moving forwards.
Yeah, things are growing.
Excellent.
New year, new opportunities.
Yeah. I'm excited about the year. I am very excited. Things are changing.
Yes.
So let's start. Tell me about your story. How you got into doing this type of work, where you were before. You know how that all happened.
Yeah. So origin story for a men's work facilitator. So I'm 47 now, and when I was growing up, my early childhood, I had like an idyllic childhood. You know, I had mom, dad, siblings, little town. My dad was the town veterinarian in this tiny little town in upstate New York. We had a farm, and horses, and a cow, and goats, and chickens, and like the whole deal, right? I had this like kind of storybook little young child. So from like 0 to 10, when I was 11, my parents' relationship blew up. And so then it was just a totally different world for the next 10 years. So my parents got divorced. I'm one of 7 boys, and I grew up with 5 brothers. So there were 6 of us, big span of ages. My parents got divorced. They both each got into new relationships. My dad was remarried and divorced within 2 years, and then remarried again within another 2 years. And my mom got into a longish relationship with, I had a stepdad, and my 2 youngest brothers came along with that stepdad. And so my teen years from like 11, my mother became a born again Christian during this period of time also. So like I went from this idyllic, like perfect little life to chaos.
Yeah.
And my belief systems, what I took on about what it means to be a man, what I took on about what it means to be in family, what I took on about, you know, I was the middle child. No, I was the oldest child. No, I was the middle child. Like all of these kind of the swirling chaos around me through my teen years. And by the time I hit my 20s, I had it all figured out. And I had the perfect mask. I had the good boy mask. I had the people pleaser. I got some beautiful qualities from my dad. My dad's funny and charismatic and like all of these things. I got all of the benefits that go with this. So, you know, white skin, upper middle class, educated, heterosexual, all of these things that I got. So when I reached my 20s, it was like, wow, what's going to stop me, right? And I had the perfect mask. I'm a nice guy. I'm easy to get along with. I'm intelligent. I can, you know, do the thing.
Yeah.
And I was terrified of taking any risks. So I self-limited myself, kept myself small, was the people pleaser to fend off the amazing amount of terror and shame that I had built through my childhood as a result of not ever knowing what was really going to happen. Like the, early belief set for me, which I still face now as a 47-year-old, is waiting for the other shoe to drop. Do you know that phrase? Yes. Like always waiting for the next bad thing to happen.
Yeah.
The next chaos to erupt in my life. Right. So that was kind of the foundation. That's my early childhood story. Through my 20s, I did the thing. I kept small jobs. I did the college thing, got into a relationship that was a small relationship, and my world just kept fewer and fewer connections, fewer and fewer with other people. And I hit 30 and my world was tiny. And, here we are in the highly evolved male thing. So one of the beliefs that I have about evolution that's kind of backed up is evolution happens when the environment gets uncomfortable enough to force a change. My environment got uncomfortable enough when I hit that point in my life to get me to say, what the hell am I doing? What is going on? This obviously isn't working for me anymore. The way that I've been living my life, all the beliefs that I've been carrying.
Yeah.
And all the things that I thought that I had, right? I started reading self-help books when I was a teenager. I was reading Scott Peck's The Road Less Traveled and Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance and the Tao Te Ching and, all of this great stuff. I was absorbing all of this great stuff. So I thought I had it all together, right? And I was a fucking miserable wreck. And I knew about the Mankind Project. So now seg to the Mankind Project. I knew about MKP because, as I said, I was surrounded by boys and men. And one of my brother who's just underneath me, did the New Warrior Training Adventure in like 1996. Got involved in the Mankind Project. And as soon as he went through it, he came back to me and was like, you have to do this thing. You got to do this thing. It's going to blow your mind. It's going to wake you wide open. It's going to be awesome. And then multiple brothers did it. My dad did it. My stepfather did it. All these other men in my life did it. And I was like, no way. I'm not good. I'm not doing that. And what it was that fear, that shame, that fear, that smallness, that don't ever take off the mask because it's really dangerous to take off the mask, that I think a lot of men live with.
Yeah.
That was my life, right? Don't go out on a limb. And my environment got painful enough. I ended the relationship. That relationship kind of imploded. So then I'm 31 years old, going 32 years old. I'm in a new relationship. I'm already starting to see myself do the same shit that I've done over and over and over in my life, and witnessing myself do this. And it's like, okay, it's time to do something different. And I was seeing a chiropractor at the time. Chiropractor stories are hilarious, but they're woven through my whole all of this chiropractic. Anyway, so I'm seeing a chiropractor.
Yeah.
Out of the chiropractic office, and Wayne, who's the chiropractor, follows me out into the hallway, and he puts his hand on my shoulder, and he's like, Boysen, I see on the table you're really going through some stuff. There's some big changes happening for you right now, right? I see that. I see it in your body. I see all this stuff manifesting. Have you ever heard of a thing called the New Warrior Training Adventure? And I was like, fuck you, buddy. I don't. And then it's like, oh, okay, fine. And I gave in. So I heard the call for years, the hero's journey story. I heard the call for years. I knew there was something more for me. I knew there was something waiting on the other side, and I needed the right mentor to wrap me on the forehead and say, come cross the threshold into this experience. And so that was about 14 years ago. And I've been, that experience of the New Warrior Training Adventure, which we'll talk about.
I just So I just think that like your story is amazing because I think so many people, including myself, have been through that experience of thinking, I know that I need to do this, but I'm just shit scared. Like, you know, whatever it is, you know, whether it's like going and having interviews or, you know, getting up on stage and talking and all these things that, you know, we need to do, fears that we need to walk through. And, you know, in your case, doing the new warrior training, in my case, it was doing leadership training actually. And, you know, having to walk through that, God, I can totally relate to it. You know, that's awesome. Yeah,
Most of us can, right? But we don't talk. And then all the masculinity stuff gets piled on that. So it's like, okay, yeah, we all experience fear.
Yeah,
we all experience shame. We all experience sadness. We all experience all of this stuff, right? But don't talk about it because that's not what men do.
No.
Yeah,
absolutely. I think just something that's coming to mind is this experience in leadership, right? It was the first day, and there's a room full of 100 people, and they just basically called people to get up, and I was like, do you know what? I'm here now. I've got myself all the way to San Diego in the USA, which I had to pay for a flight, for accommodation, everything. I'm in this room now. I'm going to blooming do something about it. So I stick my hand up. They're like, right, come up. Like, didn't know what was going to happen. Within about 5 minutes, they had me bawling my eyes to tears in front of a whole room of people. I'm like, oh my God, if there's any way to, you know, go through this, this is it. It's that. So I would imagine, you know, what you're doing has aspects of really walking through that as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm going to have to come up with this movie that rings a bell for me. So where do you want to go from here? So, and that was it. And once I went through that process, and I was within a very short amount of time all in, and what made the difference for me was, even though I grew up surrounded by boys and men, even though I had father figures in my life, multiple father figures in my life, including my bio dad, who's still, you know, very much in my life, I never had a trusting relationship with men. No. And the experience of the New Warrior Training Adventure, and then going through the process of being in a men's group and facilitating men's work and being part of that experience, I went into a group of men after the New Warrior Training Adventure who had also experienced this awakening, who had experienced this cathartic event, who had experienced this rite of passage together. And they just loved the shame out of me for a year and a half. All that shame, all that repressed stuff, all that shadow material that I had been sitting on for so long, they just held me and accepted me and kept inviting me out like, nope, take a bigger risk. And that process is so now today, I want as many men to have that opportunity as I can provide.
Yeah. And this will happen in the New Warrior Training, right?
Yes. So let's talk about the Mankind Project, which is really why I'm here. So Mankind Project's been around for 35 years now, almost. Started with this weekend experience that they initially called the Wild Man Weekend, is now called the New Warrior Training Adventure, has been that for 25 years, something like that. The New Warrior Training Adventure is an intentional experiential initiation experience for modern men. So the rite of passage that we talk about is missing from our culture.
Yes.
The authentic awakening into community. The real confrontation with myself and with other men about what it means for me to be a man, what it means to balance those, and I'm going to put these in quotes because masculine and feminine characteristics or behaviors or any of that stuff. Like, we don't get that teaching. We don't give our boys that teaching very much in this world. And so what do we have? We have adult men walking around, in adult skin suits with 11-year-old boys running the show.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Pre-initiated boys running the show. So the New Warrior Training Adventure, even though the founders didn't know what they were creating, when they created it, they created an initiatory process. And the initiatory process is not about defeating the enemy out there. The initiatory process is about defeating the connection, making the connection here, defeating my own inner dragon, right? Confronting what holds power in my psyche and my soul within a container of community that I can be welcomed back into and witnessed. And, what I say about the New Warrior Training Adventure is I have 14 years later, visceral memories in my body of what that experience felt like. I can still see the room. I can still see the men, of when I went through that hero's journey process, when I went through that, most intense portion of the weekend for me on Saturday, I still feel that in my body. That's the change that I think initiation provides, that's not provided in our culture. And that's what the New Warrior Training Adventure is about. And then to continue that experience through evolving growth with other men, through ongoing personal development, through new practices, through, you don't go through a catharsis and come at there's no silver bullet, right? You get the awakening, you get the pop, and then it's like, now what? Chop wood, carry water. Maybe you'll learn how to chop wood better. Maybe you'll learn how to carry water more efficiently. Chop wood, carry water. And that's the practice of manhood. Manhood's not a thing that gets bestowed on you like knighthood. Manhood is a thing that is a constant evolutionary growth process. Absolutely. My opinion.
Yeah. Absolutely, it is indeed. So what is it then to be a conscious, a mature man, a conscious man, whatever you want to call it?
That's a very big question.
It is, isn't it?
So the new macho, the poem that I wrote, the piece that I wrote, was an attempt at that for me, and looking at the characteristics that I aspire to be as a modern, emotionally mature, spiritually connected man. And what I think is most relevant to me is the willingness to acknowledge that it's going to be an ongoing journey. And all the things that we're told, there are a lot of things that we're told in Western culture that are not manly, that we need to, in order to be mature, in order to be emotionally mature, have to reclaim within ourselves. We have to reclaim things that we're told never to be as boys: soft, open, vulnerable. We have to claim all the emotions we're told not to experience: shame, grief, joy, lightness, connection. We have to do the things that we're told not to do. Share yourself. Learn how to be intimate. Learn how to be close to people, because eventually, when I get to my deathbed, looking back, do I want to look back and say, hey, I made it out unscraped? Whew, made it out without experiencing any big emotions. I'm like, no, bullshit. on my deathbed, I want to have experienced everything that I can experience. And not only that, but I want the world to have felt me.
Mm.
And for me to have created the space for other people to experience the fullness of who they are. I want my wife to experience the fullness of who she is. I want my kids to know the fullness of who they are. And so my role, I think, as an evolved man, is to create that space. Right?
I agree. I mean, personally, growing up, I've been a very shy child. So when I grew up, I was very blocked, and masked up, just like you were talking about earlier, actually. And I really felt that, well, what I know is that it really stunted me creatively. I wasn't able to communicate with people properly. I had social issues, and once, from my knowledge, at least, once you can kind of connect your brain and your heart and whatever, then you can then flow a lot easier,
Yeah. Yeah. Finding that flow state. Yeah. And that's not masculine or feminine, right? So
no,
like I do a lot of thinking about, like, a lot of the things that we're told are masculine, a lot of the things that we're told are feminine. Maybe there was a reason 1,000 years ago, 40,000 years ago, 1,000,000 years ago, that some of those things kind of evolved with us, characteristics of what are called masculine, feminine, man, woman traits, right? Maybe they evolved with us that long ago. But now, where we're sitting in 2019, looking at the world the way the world is, looking at our brains and how we've evolved, understanding our neurological evolution, understanding brain plasticity, understanding all of those things, what do we need? We need human beings with access to fucking all of it.
Yeah.
All of it, right? All those characteristics, all those things that we talk about, all the aggressiveness used in the right way, power used in the right way, determination used in the right way, and vulnerability used in the right way, and sadness used in the, like, we need access to all of those things as full human beings.
Yes, I like that. And the thing that has changed then is actually our physical environment rather than anything else. So back then we had to kill animals ourselves and whatever, survive as such. And now we're in, offices, and our way of being gets to change, but we still get to hold on to all those different aspects of ourselves. Yeah, that's very wise. I like that.
In an integrative way, right? Yeah. So the Mankind Project has an archetypal, we talk about king, lover, warrior, magician. We use the Jungian archetypal framework as one of our kind of maps of reference to point at embodying energies, right? So the most recent vision I had, and it's the new warrior training adventure. So what's the role of the warrior in today's culture? What is a heart open warrior?
Yeah.
What is a spiritual warrior? What is a mature masculine warrior? And the image that comes to me is I'm no longer out on the edge of the fire looking out into the darkness waiting for tigers. Like, that's not it anymore. That's not my role as a warrior. But what I do see is a warrior now I'm turned inward to look at the community, and my responsibility is to work with others to make sure that they see their accountability, that they see the impact that they have on others. That's the place where that fierceness needs to arise in me, is to say no.
Yes.
Look at the impact that you're having. This is what we must be responsible for. This is to create a healthier community for us, right? And we need women warriors, we need men warriors doing that for all of us today.
Yeah.
So that we don't just blow up the planet and blow up our society.
Yeah. So we're not, it's almost like to be maturely masculine, we're not giving up the fight. It's just the fight is different. We're not beating people up now.
Yeah.
We're fighting in a different, responsive way rather than a reactionary way, I guess.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, I like that. So, in terms of the new warrior training, because we were talking about that actually,
Yeah.
who would be a good candidate for that?
A lot of guys, and I think any man in a particular point in development where he knows he's ready. And this is the idea of initiation, the idea of in the old days, the initiate did not choose when the initiation happened. The community chose. The elders chose when it was time for the boys and the girls to be taken away and initiated into the community of responsible adulthood, right? The community of responsibility, with all the benefits and the weight that goes with that. These days, it's that internal voice that you and I have both identified already as there's something more. It's from the longing for something bigger for myself, or maybe it's from the recognition that my environment has become uncomfortable enough that the only way for me to get to the next stage of my development is to evolve. That is when a man chooses initiation. So there are things that, contraindicated, like if you got sober 10 minutes ago, don't go do this kind of experience, whatever it is. Don't go do this kind of experience. Go get a therapist, get treatment. If you're a man who has deeply repressed psycho emotional or sexual trauma from childhood, go see a therapist, work on that. And when you're ready, you'll know that there's a time. So it's for a man who's ready to choose to do something radical and ready to take full responsibility for that. And we talked in the pre-thing about victim.
Yes.
Yeah, about victim. So set up that, like, where do you want to go with that?
Victim. Okay, well, let me talk from my own experience.
Yeah.
I know that before I became conscious that I can manifest whatever the hell I want, I was in a victim consciousness. I blamed things on my external circumstances.
Yeah. Okay.
Especially having been in this heavy metal band, which was, all about fighting for your right and all of that, if you like. But, there was also an element of kind of blame, and yeah, I kind of lived by that. And, what I've identified going through this journey is that I was in a victim state, and there's I don't really know what the question is here, but it's basically when I was in a victim state, I wasn't manifesting good things in my life. I was continuing to have the same patterns roll through my life, and that is a massive mindset that we get to shift to move into a new way of being. So I guess the other side of that is responsibility.
Yeah, beautiful. And I think we live in a culture that it's real easy to go there, right? From whatever perspective, wherever you're sitting in your life, it's very easy. It was very easy for me to see myself as a victim. It was very easy for me to see myself as a victim of divorce. It was very easy to see myself as a victim of actions that my dad took, or victim of actions that my mother took. Yeah. Later in life, it was very easy for me to blame the person that I was in a relationship with during my 20s for the failure of that relationship, which is bullshit.
Yeah.
Like all the ways that I bullshitted myself, I think culturally right now from both sides, and I think there's some beautiful conversations being had about this in the age of Me Too. So we live in the age of Me Too. We live in the age of male accountability. We live in the age of transforming male culture to do what it says that it wants to do, be protective, resourceful, accountable. You know, masculinity is supposed to be accountable. Look at the reactions of a lot of men to the Me Too movement. I'm not seeing so much accountability there sometimes, right? I'm seeing a lot of victim. I'm seeing a lot of blaming behavior.
Yeah.
Instead, let's turn it around. Let's blame women. Let's blame da-da-da. Let's blame just those men instead of taking responsibility for male culture. Like, who's responsible to change male culture if not me?
Yeah.
Right? So that's a shift out of victim mentality. And then what I love about, you know, some of the reading that I've been doing from women involved in this is, no, this was never about trying to destroy men. This is about trying to stand up and be accountable for being seen and say, we're not doing this anymore. It's a boundary setting. It's like it's a beautiful, powerful female warrior boundary setting and an invitation to men. It wasn't a like, we're standing up so that we can kill all of you. It's a, we're standing up to invite you to help us make something better in our society, right? So we spend, are you familiar with the drama triangle? Do you know the drama triangle?
No, tell me about that.
This is something that we look at in the Mankind Project, and we're going to talk about shadow work too. So we'll go to shadow
Great.
work.
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah.
The drama triangle, very simply, is victim, persecutor, rescuer. Victim, persecutor, rescuer. For me, it's been revolutionary to imagine myself, what position am I sitting in any given drama search situation? Am I trying to rescue somebody who's a perceived victim? Am I actually the persecutor? Am I making someone a victim through the impacts of my actions? Or am I in the victim, blaming others for my situation? Right? And the way out of it, you already said it, is accountability. I refuse to blame.
Yes.
I take full responsibility. A book that I'm listening to right now, Jocko Willick's it's not radical responsibility, it's radical ownership. He's a Navy SEAL, 2 Navy SEALs who wrote a book together about 100% responsibility. And that's like the whole thing. And where I see our culture is like, that's where we are. That's the threshold that we have to cross right now as a society is, are we willing to take responsibility for all of it? Or are we going to continue to blame others or persecute others?
Yeah, absolutely. It's such a, you know, there's so many levels to this kind of conversation as well, because there's that part in terms of, you know, taking responsibility in that way. And then, you know, even just taking responsibility of our, you know, daily circumstances, whether you work in a certain job. Am I going into my job and am I moaning about it? You know, and you know, obviously, if you are, that's going to have a, you know, an impact on your mental health, right? You're not enjoying your job. Go and sort it out, you know, or whatever it is. I'm not happy in this relationship. Okay, well, you have the choice, right? Go and sort it out. So yeah, it's great to understand that. Yeah. Just say the say the points of the triangle one more time.
So the drama triangle, and this is old. This is you know, it's cognitive behavioral therapy model. So the victim, kind of sits at the bottom of the triangle, and the persecutor or the bully and the rescuer are the other points of the triangle. And the triangle is a constant interaction. So if I'm a victim, if I'm feeling a victim, I look for, I'm blaming a persecutor and I'm looking for a rescuer. So then the rescuer comes in, and if the rescuer overacts, then the rescuer actually becomes the perpetrator, creating a new victim. And and then the victim gets to become the rescuer. So it's a constant thing. And if you look at our political situation, look at individual relationships, look at your family relationships, I'm playing all of those roles in some way. And the only way for me to stop is to take responsibility for the whole thing and step out. And now let's go to shadow work. So now let's go even another layer below that.
Yeah.
All those roles, I am Legion. All those roles are also in me. All of the things that I hide, deny, and repress with the mask are also in me. All the things that I loathe, despise, and am disgusted by in others are in me. All the things that I am in awe of, project myself onto, or aggrandize, right? Put up on pedestals are also in me. And so one of the things that, is kind of foundational. So we have this archetypal model from Jungian psychology and shadow also from Jungian psychology. And shadow work is about going inside to face those things that I hide, repress, and deny out there in the world, and wrestle with them, not in the sense of destroying, because nothing will ever be destroyed, but in the sense of finding integration, finding a way to accept and hold in a healthy way all those aspects of myself and others that I find that I've put into shadow, all those things that I've put into shadow. So shadow work is about shining the light into the darkness. And why we do what we do in the New Warrior Training Adventure, so when you go through the New Warrior Training Adventure, if you're one of 30 participants that are going through it, there's going to be about 45 staff.
Yeah.
So there's going to be more staff than participants by a big margin, but you won't know who the leaders are. You'll just be a part of this process that's going on. And the beauty of this kind of shadow work model that we use is that there's a guy in that container with you who has the light that needs to shine on you in order for you to see that shadow.
Yeah.
I can't do that myself. If it's easy to recognize, if I say, oh yeah, my shadow is A, B, C, and D, and then there's a da-da-da-da-da, it's like, no, it's not a shadow, man. It's in your consciousness. The shadow is the thing that guy shines a light on you and you catch a glimpse. Fuck, I'm that? No way.
Yeah.
And then integrate that, or I'm that brilliant. That brilliance is in me? No way. And then to try and face that and wrestle with it in a way that you can integrate it. So yeah, there's shadow work, and shadow work is fun. It's risky and it's fun to really get the characters that we have inside of us out in front of us, to get all of those situations that are usually childhood situations, right? Stuff from way back. Where did I pick up the belief that I wasn't good enough?
Yeah.
For example, right? What message did I get? Probably not even consciously. It wasn't my mother saying, you're not good enough. It was just something that I took on.
Yeah.
And then it created its own ecosystem within my psyche.
Absolutely. It just, when you start to get into shadow work, it just really, everything just starts unraveling, and, everything that you thought was true at one point,
Good.
it just falls apart. And that's at that point, often that's when your mask falls off. And then you go, oh my God, who am I? And at this, this is, but do you know what? This is a great thing if that happens, because it shows that you'll have a massive shifts in your reality, in your life, who you are. And that's how you can manifest great things into your life, right? And take a new path as such.
Mm-hmm.
It's such an amazing, deep subject. I love it. It just, especially when you get these revelations, you're like, oh my God, was I actually like that? Was I doing that? I'm not an aggressive person, passively aggressive, that's a great one, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
my hands up. And that's, and the beauty of being in a community is that, so it ain't just me, man. If I'm sitting with 10 guys in a circle, 5 of them are going to have had that experience also, and it's like, yep, got it. I see you. I see you. I understand. And that level of acceptance, I've witnessed over and over and over, right? It's the so subtle shifts that can just break a heart open for men. It's the one guy who gets up next to you knee to knee and says, I see you. I understand that. And all the mask, as you said, it just crumbles, right? When we get witnessed, when I have been witnessed in that way. Yeah.
It's beautiful. So how does this work with, going from here, how does that work with vulnerability, and how does that work with healing men's deep wounds?
Yeah. And I think so. In order to do this, I must be willing to get vulnerable, and I will be kicking and screaming against it. I was kicking and screaming against that vulnerability. But when I saw other men model it, and this is the beauty, when I saw other men model that vulnerability, when I got to witness another man out there doing that work, then it became a little more possible for me. And in MKP, this kind of I'll go first is, I'm going to open my heart to you and share what's vulnerable. And I'm going to invite you to do the same. And that in itself creates the possibility for healing. Being witnessed creates the possibility for healing. Learning to reframe my beliefs and stories that I took on, not as entrenchment. I can tell my story over and over and over and just re-entrench those beliefs. Or I can step outside of my story and see it for the very first time and understand it in a new way, re-meaning it, give it new meaning or change, or understand that, if you've got a father wound, and most of us, right? So to look at the father wound and say, oh, I finally fucking get it, that's all my dad was capable of.
Yeah.
Compassion. Holy shit. And then I can feel compassion, right? For him, for me, for the part of me that is him.
Yeah.
For the ways in which I have replicated the behaviors that I witnessed and took them on, all of those things. And then over time, guys get frustrated. I hear this a lot in MKP, and I hear it out there. Guys get frustrated. God damn it, I have to do that piece of work again? Like, yeah. Until it's fully processed. And, I'm going to take another slip. I'm going to take another shave off of it. and keep moving through. And then the very important thing, so, and I want to connect this and make sure it gets connected in here. If you don't have something to replace the old stories with, you're just going to keep spinning in the old stories. So one of the thing that I think is incumbent upon any man who believes he is in an evolutionary process is to figure out what his purpose and mission are here. Because as you said, get into the shadow and it all starts falling apart. Like all the shit that I believed, everything that I thought I was, all of the stories that I've been carrying around. Now what? Now I better figure out what my purpose is. Why am I here?
Oh, yes.
If I'm not here just to keep playing the drama triangle constantly, and if I'm not here to just keep building the armor and building the mask, if I'm not here to just accumulate riches, which I think is another step in that evolving, it's like, oh, wow, that's meaningless. Useful to this extent and meaningless. Wow. I need a purpose to aim toward. So, after we go through all the intensity and catharsis of facing the dragon, then it's, now what are you here to do? Bring the sovereign energy. And then I believe this is, again, where you got into, so we get fundamental here. Now it's a spiritual process.
Yes.
What possibility is there in the universe for me? What unique gift do I have to bring? So there's sky spirit. There's my gift. And then how do I enact that gift? The warrior in the world. So how do I manifest then? And refocusing on that mission. And mission changes. My mission has shifted over 14 years. So my mission statement is, I transform culture by designing change, building bridges, and co-creating space for connection. And every man who goes through the New Warrior training adventure comes out of that process with a mission statement. And every single one of them is going to be different. It's your mission. And if it's not working for you in 2 years, let's look at it again. Is it big enough? Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
It helps you kind of embody what you're here to be, really. So where the mask or the identity has crumbled away and you're searching for the tether to hold on to. Who am I? Where am I? You can grab onto that statement and embody it. That's great. Yeah. It's a good kind of thing to hold on to remind you who you are and what you're here to do.
And what I'm here to do and how am I here to serve?
Yes.
How am I here to make this thing better? As Charles Eisenstein would say in his book, to create the more beautiful world that my heart knows is possible.
Excellent. So, Boysen, we're kind of running out of time, actually.
Yeah. I got going this morning.
Yeah. You have a free gift, don't you, that you're offering to the listeners?
I do. And what was the gift that I gave? Yeah. Oh, so it's our leadership. Yeah. Okay. So if you go to mankindproject.org, that's our website. That's where I'm going to point everyone. We have a free 9-week mini leadership course. It's just drop in a name, and on a weekly basis, you're going to get an email that has a set of kind of explanation, a set of resources, and an invitation for practices for this kind of evolved leadership. And everything that I've been talking about here in terms of crossing the threshold and the hero's journey and accountability and how I communicate and getting out of the drama triangle, all of this is kind of wrapped into it in a way that it's a digestible, 10-minute read plus resources and some invitations to practice. So mankindproject.org, and it's right at the top. It shows up right at the top of the screen.
Thank you so much. That is really generous and such a valuable resource that these guys can use. And I'll certainly be having a look at that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Boysen, so much for your wisdom today. I really appreciate you being here. And thank you to the listeners. And don't forget to tune in tomorrow for another episode where we'll have another amazing expert speaker on. So thank you to everyone, and peace.
Ethan, thank you.